Hello there, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Paul Damsma. I'm not that well known yet. I guess in the blogging slash podcast section of things. But for those of you who do know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Um, Besides the movies, Rogue One was probably one of my favorite standalones. And I got hooked into the Book of Boba Fett purely from being a watcher of The Mandalorian. I've seen the first two seasons. Awesome. Loved it. Um, just got finished a couple weeks ago watching Kenobi and thought to myself, something's missing here. And there's been a little speculation and a little bit of talk that there'll be a second book of Boba Fett. Um, I kind of wrote my own teaser, my own trailer, if you will. I'm not cinematic. I don't have any knowledge and experience when it comes to special effects, modeling, or anything of that nature. Although I'm a huge fan of Adam Savage and his work. But I'm also a subscriber to Kyle Katarn and his Star Wars musings, and I really like what he does. So I'm going to post this one up there for what it's worth. Everybody can see what they like. This will be my take on what I want to see in the Book of Boba Fett. So without any much more further ado, I'm going to share a 6-page email that I sent to Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and George Lucas. And it goes as follows. Just concluded the episodes of the Kenobi series and loved it. Though there are plot holes and loose ends that exist in the Star Wars films, they offer opportunities for writers and producers to fill them with amazing scenes and stories. With that in mind, I provide the following, Tamira Morrison included, or necessary for this part. Um, Many see different sides to any story. The best way to maintain engagement and involvement is to make things relevant, current, and meaningful on many levels. I endeavor to show parallels to real life, relationship, politics, conflict, and alliances for mutual benefit. In the Book of Boba Fett 2, a man who is often seen as scum has been remade by fate and circumstance. No longer a scourge, he's allowed himself to become a force for good. And I think we saw that in the first Book of Boba Fett, and also in the Mandalorian choosing to take sides with him in his battle against the Pike Syndicate. So names will be dropped, action sequences, and travel to other planets necessary. And meeting with and making friends and enemies will cause Fett to become established. What follows is an opportunity to rewrite the story and expand people's perception of the Force that is all around us. Analysis precedes these short stories, and a rationale will follow. So, I also thought it necessary to add in some strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or SWAT as we call them. Strength: establishing a presence as an overlord, Boba Fett proves his mettle and shows he has strength and must be recognized. His conflicts, struggles, and build-up are shown. Weaknesses: many set designs, people, and extras will probably be needed. Opportunities: many loopholes between the Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens can be filled, and stories told of Outer Rim planets and peoples. Threats: budgetary. The only one I can come up with. Not sure how much we'll have to work with. So with that, the Book of Boba Fett 2. So, Episode 1, I've entitled Power Loves a Vacuum. And I think we all understand that one. Scene 1 is called Showdown with the Hutts. With the Pike all but destroyed, Boba Fett is met with new threats from the Hutt twins. The droid army from Geonosis, shut down after Emperor Palpatine enacted Order 66, were reactivated and upgraded by Dr. Shell Lana Afra to serve the Empire and the Hutts. They have enslaved the inhabitants of several outer and mid-rim planets. Having been a member of the Hutt Grand Council, Jabba commanded respect, and his death would be avenged. But Boba came prepared. as he calls to his Rancor to come out of his ship. The Rancor defeats droidekas, leaving Nal Hutta more of a mess than Mos Espa. After being questioned at gunpoint, the Hutts claimed the droidekas were purchased from the Cremora Syndicate, following the Battle of Yavin. Shen says, "You paid too much." The Hutts reply, "We were not concerned. We pay the price for protection." Looking at his Rancor, Fett replies, "Dathomir is redeemed." Turning to the twins, he says, "Thank you for your gift." Scene 2. Not your typical day at the beach. Fett and his team travel to Utapau, where the droid armies are facing the peoples to mine the ore from the planet's core. Catastrophic windstorms are blowing, causing wind devils over the planet's craters. But the Rancor seems right at home, burrowing into the ground as Fett and Shen remain on the Slave One scouting for life forms. Dialogue. Fett shares with Shen that he wishes this was one of his dreams that beset him while healing in the Bacta tank. Fenn asks if he'd rather be on the animal's back while it digs enormous holes in the sand and hard ground. Boba replies, "I should have tied Cad's corpse to the Rancor's back so he could receive a proper burial." Unable to defeat the sheer numbers of the droid army, Fett and Shen recall the Rancor. Convinced there must be a central control for these droids, they turn their sights to an enemy energy signal coming from Geonosis. Scene 3. Buggers got what they deserved. Fett, Shen, and Chrysanthemum are uneasy, because after a few long trips, the Rancor is not happy to travel in space. Many people who've taken long travel trips with their pets will relate to this. On Geonosis, they discover a mass shield generator that they cannot get past. After an intense battle, the Rancor destroys the shield generator. The droid armies are once again deactivated. In the catacombs beneath the sands of the Geonosian capital, Fett finds the smuggler's guide left behind by Dr. Aphra and Darth Vader when they battled the Geonosian Queen in her lair. They follow a sound coming from deep within. A beacon or a trap? Boba asks. Fenn suggests they check it out. Here, they find a repository of designs by Grand Moff Tarkin and Orson Krennic for the first Death Star. They would also discover Sheev Palpatine's orders, using the metal-rich rings around the planet to construct the moon-sized weapon. Now a dusty shell without life, nothing can live here, Fett muttered. They left at once to return home. Excuse me. Episode 1, Scene 4. Breaking rings is hard to do. During their return to Tatooine, Shen receives a distress call from Zagaba, a planet contested by both the Republic and Empire for their ores. Cobb Vanth would share a story with Boba that he remembered. Years earlier, Eri Shalis, a former governor of the Empire, defected to the Republic and led the charge against the supply lines to the Empire's shipbuilding yards in Quat, called Operation Ringbreaker. Oh dear. Time to pause. Operating on the planets of Albumubo, Nator, Zagaba, and Solist, the Empire sought ores to build their ships and power their hyperdrives. Though Ringbreaker had been successful at rerouting the Empire's resources from the shipyards to these planets, they did not stop the work of building these ships. The communications were clear. The Empire had returned in large numbers, using force to extract what they wanted from these planets. Fett and Shen agreed to help, but as yet Boba is unsure what he can do. Scene 5. Your DNA has been strandcast. During travels to the planets reaching out, Fennec jokes that Boba seems quite popular wherever they go. Boba replies, "There are many who look like me, act like me, and think like me. They may just be, they just ain't me." A line from Slim Shady by Eminem, but If Star Wars can quote The Godfather in the first book of Boba Fett, I'll use this. On the planet Teth, they encounter members of the reconstituted 501st Battalion. After a confrontation, voices are recognized and helmets removed. They share that some remnants of the Sith Empire have escaped to wild space and the unknown regions of the galaxy. They also reveal that they are a dying breed, and the Sith Empire has been kidnapping children, training them on distant planets as stormtroopers. Before they leave the planet, they discover a temple on the edge of the city and take a closer look. Shen discovers a cloning vat with what appears to be a clone of Count Dooku. Though he is in stasis, the equipment is there to bring him to life. Boba decides it's time for this program to die. They destroy the lab, but Fett believes there may be more vats on other planets. Scene number 6. One last run for Kessel. After a challenge from the family of Bib Fortuna, a fight ensues. With help from Cobb, Boba and Fennec dissolve the warring faction, only to discover the people in Ryloth need their help. Arriving on the planet to see for themselves, they discover slavery the likes of which the Republic has never seen. Even Fett, whose memories of shady dealings and hunting bounties has never seen such despicable treatment of the races. He is appalled that the Hutts would stoop so low for their fortunes. The droid armies may be stopped, but the spice was still running, and the planets enslaved for gain by the Hart Cartel, and countless thugs and mercenaries by drug money. Fett agrees with a Twi'lek named Parlak to take the fight directly to Kessel, where thousands of his friends are mining spice for the Hutts and the Pike. After a long and very difficult trip, they navigate their way through the Maw. Arriving, they find the Empire overseeing the mine. Fett, Shen, Vanth, the Weequay, and Black Chrysanthemum hid the ship and planned to blend in. They would develop a plan to liberate the Twi'lek, Wookiees, and Weequay from this hellish existence. Episode 2. Caught Up in the Maw. A group of slaves and droids who have access to the coaxium mine rig explosives. Fett discovers the Empire and the Chiss have mined and converted it to fuel for their hyperdrives. Making things time perfectly, they work under the cover of night, setting timers and moving to get the slaves onto Hutt cargo freighters and off-world. Fett, Shen, and Chrysanthemum, each flying a ship, navigate the way through the beaconless Maw. A vortex created by the exploded coaxium pulls them into the Maw around Kessel's atmosphere. The turbulence almost causes a collision between the ships. When they regain control, they come face to face with the First Order dreadnought. The sight of it scares the inhabitants of all three ships, and they are afraid that they will be destroyed. Unknown to them, Snoke is on board. Snoke, unaware of the damage to the planet below, believes these ships to be part of another shipment. He does not ask his crew to scan the ships for life forms. Fett lets Cobb Vanth do the talking so as not to give himself away. Vanth says that the storms below are holding up progress as the spice must keep running, and provides codes that are old but still work. It pays off. After several hours of fighting the storm, they reach the edge of the Maw, eager to return the slaves to their homeworlds. Episode 3. Outer Rim Justice. Arriving on Kashyyyk, Fett discovers stormtroopers numbering in the hundreds, running a handful of bases on the planet. Chrysanthemum finds Chewbacca, who has been taken prisoner by the Empire. Fett assures Chrysanthemum that he will send a message to the Mon Calamari, alerting the resistance of the Empire's presence on their planet and ask for help. They would reluctantly leave Kashyyyk space. They would travel to Jabim, hearing that it too has been seized by the Empire for mining, and is still overrun by droids left over from the Clone Wars. The Hutts and the Empire agreeing to share resources and slaves to keep them profiting and building in numbers, each carving for themselves a piece of the mid and outer rim planets and trade routes, blocking others from having any involvement or gaining in their profits. Sriller 2 is overrun with Imperial forces. Fett finds Hondo Ohnaka, revealing to him that the Empire is building back up again. For the time being, the slaves would relocate to the caves on Ryloth, so they would not be discovered. But the Twi'lek leadership have mixed feelings. The Twi'lek stay with their own, while the Wookiees and Weequay are brought to Tatooine. Episode 4. Thinking Systemically, Acting Galactically. Fett speaks to Peli Motto about his dilemma. Peli shares a story about a former Jawa who inherited a large property on the mid-rim planet of Takodana. She claimed it had both Sith and Jedi artifacts and was an important part of the trade route between the inner and outer rim worlds. They would converse with Maz Kanata to see if she had lodging and needed helpers. Boba and Chrysanthemum traveled to Cloud City to meet Lando Calrissian. Lando showed how Tabana gas is taken from the atmosphere above Bespin and made into hyperspace fuel. Lando asked Boba why he came out. Boba explains that the Republic needs more system leaders who ensure safe passage without robbing the inhabitants blind or enslaving them. Lando smiles and says, "In the galaxy there are always those who enslave and those who let themselves be enslaved." They agree to put a call out to Leia Organa asking for the restitution of the Senate. Lando cannot take workers because the gas is mined by droids. Boba offers him the Geonosian droids in exchange for credits. Lando agrees. Boba and Chrysanthemum return. Episode 5. A sibling rivalry emerges. Answering to a distress call from Akiva, Fett joins Alliance Captain Wedge Antilles. Together, they discover the Empire is oppressing the people and help them stage a coup. Here, they engaged Akivian satraps in Mira, Grand Moff Rand and his stormtroopers with rebels in caves, driving them to the surface and firing with the Hutt freighters, retrofitted with armaments. The Rebel Alliance, led by Mon Mothma, joined Leia Organa, Admiral Akbar, and Lando Calrissian, now a general. They attacked the shipyards in Fondor. The Rebel Alliance would be joined by a rogue squadron. Despite suffering casualties, they capture the shipyards. With Operation Cinder extinguished and the Empire all but gone, Celestins and Fundari agree to ally with the New Republic. With the announcement of the newly minted alliance, production of fleets of ships for battle and freight begin immediately. But one is unhappy with the terms. Omega and the Bad Batch have sparring words with Boba. Episode 6. Establishing a New Republic. Without an emperor or chancellor to represent the races and planets, Organa forges alliances with governing leaders of core, mid-rim, and outer rim planets and systems, meeting with them in other locations in Coruscant or traveling to their planets to ratify deals of agreements. Generals Leia Organa and Lando Calrissian are joined by Twi'lek Hera Syndulla, daughter of retired General Cham Syndulla, and former Empire's Inferno Squad, Iden Versio and Del Meeko. Flanked by Republic Mon Calamari and Lando Calrissian, Boba Fett takes the planet of Rothana, freeing its people and providing a new manufacturing platform for the Resistance, showing himself an overlord for peace, a champion of freedom, and a force working with the New Republic. Boba Fett is named the Republic's Governor of Tatooine and a General of the Republic, a fate well earned. Rationale. 1. People must see the conflict in Fett becoming an overlord. Many want to go backward to Boba wanting revenge on Mace Windu. But we should go forward, addressing the power vacuum made when the Pike Syndicate and Jabba were eliminated, and the conflicts that occur with the Overlord's development within this power vacuum. 2. Fett must confront his fears and his past in order to move forward. With callbacks to development of droid armies, advanced weapons, To information and dangerous people, Boba has done more harm than good in his past. Facing the Hutts, Geonosis, Camino, and Project Blackwing, he begins to feel the pain of the peoples across the galaxy, and his resolve to stand for something shows he's more than just his father's clone. 3. Races, places, and ideals of the Outer Rim need to be explored. Many joke that the Hutt are oversized slugs, or the Twi'lek are colorful sex symbols, but their stories are every bit as important as the Tuskens were. Let's tell the stories of other planets and continue to make Fett a champion for good. Develop a story around the Empire's remaining strongholds and the effects of the spice trade on the Outer Rim planets. 4. Mandalore is an Outer Rim planet, and Din will rebuild it. We would do well to point out that Jango Fett was a Mandalorian. Therefore, keeping Boba Fett and Din Djarin intertwined is important to both series. But Din has a lot of work to do, not only on his homeworld with Bo-Katan, but also in worlds where the Mandalorians drew their supporters and where they fought battles. Battles with the Empire will continue. 5. These nuances build in perfectly with The Force Awakens. I may not like all the plot holes and the lack of creativity in Disney's version of the movies, but Rey and Ben's choice to turn good was awesome. I want it to tie into the end of slavery and the spice trade with the beginning of the First Order and establishment of a new power base, forming a basis for the Resistance, telling the story from another point of view. And that's all. I'd be open to your thoughts, your queries, and as always, keep enjoying, keep listening, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.